Howdy, everybody. Welcome to Liberty Call. Today is Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. Hope you're having a fantastical day out there in the interwebs. It is a gorgeous day here again in Colorado. We do have a few clouds up there in the blue areas, but it is fantastic. I mean, it is warm, cool breeze. It is wonderful. I'm going to go out and get some sun. I mean, look at how pink I am. I'm like a all over back there. Anyways, all right. Well, markets hovered near record highs as U.S. China trade talks rolled into day two with no fireworks yet. Tesla jumped again as Musk and Trump buried the hatchet for now, while Amazon and TSMC rode tech momentum higher. On the flip side, JM Smucker soured investor moods with weak guidance. With inflation data looming, Wall Street is holding its breath. So before we break all the news down, I need some help from you. And for those of you who are just listening, that was me holding my breath. But before we break all the news down, I need some help from everyone out there. Give me some thumbs up, a like, a share, subscribe, a follow. Press that damn notification bell, people. I mean, I say smart things a minimum two days a week. So you got to tune in all 5 to see if I say something smart. I usually say dumb stuff. But anyways, all righty. Well, let's get over to the markets for today. And oops, I have a different. I'm using a different. What's it called? I don't know. Camera option. So now you get to see my big old face instead of my teeny little face down here. See? Ooh, look at that. Pretty cool. All right. Dow Jones was up 0.25%, 105 points, closed at 42,866. The S&P 500 up 0.57%. 34 points, closed at 60.40. NASDAQ up 0.63%, 123 points, closed at 19,714. The VIX was down 1.22% today. It's at 1695. Canada up 0.19. Brazil up 0.63. And Mexico up 0.48. All right, let's get to the Europe. That's what it's called. Yes. Starting out with Germany, it was down 0.58%. The UK up 0.24%. France up 0.17%. The Netherlands up 0.7%. Let's see here. Spain down 0.21%. Italy down 0.63%. Switzerland down 0.12%. And Portugal up 0.94%. Sometimes these flags look the same. So after a long day of staring at a computer, sometimes you're like, what is that flag? All right. The Russian exchanges were split today. The MOEX down 0.53, RTSI up 0.17, and the overnight markets, the Nikkei in Japan was up 0.32, Australia up 0.84, New Zealand up 0.4. In China, lots of red. The Shanghai down 0.44, Shenzhen Component down 0.86, China A50 down 0.18, DJ Shanghai down 0.53, Hang Seng down 0.08, and the Taiwan wait a minute closed yesterday was up 0.6. All right. My little security team here underneath my desk. I got Jake here to my left, and I got Nolan over here laying on all the power cords. So hopefully he doesn't chew on anything and electrocute himself. All righty. Well, didn't mean to do that. Let's get to the market recap and see what happened today. S&P 500 rises as U.S.-China trade talks continue. The S&P 500 edged higher on Tuesday as investors focused on the ongoing U.S.-China trade talks and awaited upcoming inflation data. After 2 global powers agreed in May to temporarily reduce tariffs, markets are hopeful for further de-escalation. Current negotiations are centered on sensitive issues like China's rare earth mineral restrictions and U.S. limits on chip exports. However, analysts at Capital Economics cautioned against expecting a major breakthrough, noting that domestic policy factors outweigh tariff impacts for China's equities and predicting that U.S. trade policy won't reverse significantly enough to fuel a lasting market rally. Investor attention is also turning towards the Consumer Price Index report due on Wednesday, expected to show inflation picking up amid higher import prices linked to Trump's tariffs. I'm going to stop right there. That is not what is happening. And again, this is a summary of the article. It's not my opinion. This is my opinion right here. I need a little like things as, raised opinion. But the reason that inflation is picking back up is because the money supply is going back up again. Inflation is only created or only caused by a devaluation of your currency. It is not created by because in the tariff world, it's a zero sum game. So if the cost of your, I don't know, what do you buy from China? T-shirts, Hanes white T-shirts. Say they go up by 10%, you're going to spend 10%. That difference you're going to spend on, if, say you have a budget for clothes every month or every six months or whatever, you're going to reduce that, somewhere else because you only have so much money to spend. But when you increase the money supply, that unfortunately is what pushes all the prices up. So anyways, I guess whoever was watching didn't find my commentary read because I can see when people pop into to watching this live. All right, where were we? All right here. While recent job data showed strength, strategists at Citi forecast the Federal Reserve will keep interest rates steady at 4.25 to 4.5 through July before initiating a rate cutting cycle in September. They anticipate 125 basis points of cuts through May of 2026. So they think it's going to go down to 3 to 3.25. I don't know. I don't know where the neutral rate is, quite honestly, because the Federal Reserve is what controls the short end of the yield curve, and instead of letting banks and regional banks decide what they're going to charge for the cost of borrowing. But anyways, on the corporate front, Apple disappointed investors during its annual developers conference with subdued AI-related updates, causing shares to slip. JM Smucker and Design Brands also reported weaker than expected results and issued cautious guidance due to trade-related uncertainty. They're strawberries from overseas. McDonald's was downgraded on concerns over falling foot traffic and the long-term impact of GLP-1 weight loss drugs. So the fat people aren't going to be going to McDonald's as much because they're not as hungry. So people are worried that McDonald's stock is going to go down. People, if you didn't eat at McDonald's so often, you probably wouldn't need the weight loss drugs. I don't know. If you eat less and exercise more, that is, again, a zero sum game in a lot of ways. Granted, there's hormones and things that do play a factor in how fast you gain or lose weight. However, but for the most part, it's how much crap you put down your mouth and how much you move. So all of us could move more. I've had a injury here, so I haven't been able to work out as much here recently. So I'm a little softer than I like today. So in finishing up, meanwhile, Taiwan Semiconductor shares surged after reporting a 40% revenue increase in May, providing a bright spot for the chip sector. All right. That's Viant. All right. Got some data here. U.S. small business sentiment improves in May, but uncertainty is rising. U.S. small business confidence improved in May, driven largely by easing trade tensions between the U.S. and China. The National Federation of Independent Businesses, the NFIB, reported its Small Business Optimism Index rose 3 points to 98.8, the first increase since December. The Trump administration's temporary reduction in tariffs from 145 down to 30% likely boosted expectations for sales, reflected in an 11-point jump in businesses anticipating higher inflation-adjusted revenues. Despite the positive outlook, uncertainty grew. The NFIB's uncertainty index rose to 94 as concerns over President Trump's, quote, big, beautiful bill, BBB, a sweeping tax cut package, continued to weigh on sentiment. I'd call it more of a wasteful spending is what I would call it. I haven't seen anything that really, gets me very, very excited. If they were serious, they'd slash and burn everything and pay off the debt. And then we could talk about, adding agencies and all these, wants to do's as opposed to the needs. All right. Though the bill narrowly passed the House, it faces Senate opposition due to fears of increasing the federal debt and has become entangled in a political feud between Trump and Elon Musk. While optimism about better business conditions increased, more businesses cited taxes as their top concern. Yeah. Well, it's my top concern too, and I'm just a regular person. Inventory shortages also emerged as a growing issue, with the share of businesses reporting too low inventory levels reaching a high not seen since August of 22. Combined with longer delivery times, this could signal upcoming price hikes. See, that's where a price hike, isn't inflation necessary or tariff related, is just because, well, I guess it is in some ways, because only your goods come from abroad. But it sounds like their inventory problems are, across the globe or across the board. It's not necessarily they haven't pointed out that, the inventory problems are from China or tariff related. Just that, things are probably, what I would guess is that businesses can see that, things are getting a little rocky and they don't want to carry a lot of extra inventory that they have to, pay for space and all that sort of thing. That would be my theory. But, what do I know? Labor market indicators weakened with your businesses citing labor quality as a major problem, and compensation growth is at lowest since 2021. Overall, uncertainty remains the biggest hurdle for small businesses today. All right. Well, there's a shock. All right. Last article here. This comes from Zero Hedge. Taco Tuesday again. And for those of you who are tuned into the news, that's a bit of a slight to Mr. Trump. So let's see what this has to say. This was written by Michael Every of Rabobank. All right. Global markets remain on edge as U.S.-China trade talks continue in London, with attention focused on a potential U.S. rollback of export restrictions in exchange for China easing rare earth mineral controls. While some investors are optimistically labeling this Taco Tuesday, truly appalling, clever option. Rabobank's Michael Every warns this is simply a return to pre-Geneva status quo. Beijing, meanwhile, frames the U.S. trade deficit as a structural issue tied to comparative advantages, a view aimed at Western policymakers. China's May export data suggests broader shifts, with exports to the U.S. plunging 34.5%, while shipments to the EU, a key European countries, surged, implying the U.S. is increasingly isolated in this trade spat. Meanwhile, geopolitical risks continue to mount. Ukrainian drones struck a Russian airbase. Germany warned of a possible Russian attack within 5 years. I'm going to repeat that. 5 years. Anything can happen. I mean, that meteorite or whatever, Apoptis, is supposed to hit on April 13th of 2029. That's 4 years from now. So, and that's my anniversary. So we got that going for us. Anyways, God, 5 years. Where was I? And Iran rejected a proposed U.S. nuclear deal. Oh no. Tensions with Israel and India-Pakistan flare-ups add to global instability. Well, the U.S. wasn't over there meddling around in a lot of this stuff. We wouldn't have all these problems. Domestically, President Trump deployed 700 Marines to Los Angeles to quell unrest tied to deportation enforcement. This raises questions about state-federal power dynamics, labor market implications, and Trump's political strength. Elsewhere, France faces possible snap elections, and reports suggest the Pentagon may be faking UFO sightings to hide classified tech. No way. I'd be shocked. All right. Economic and market risks are mounting, from AI-driven unemployment fears to China manipulating its housing market via a $1.5 trillion fund. All signs point to a world grappling with uncertainty and strategic realignment. As every quips, it's not a question of chicken outs, but more like headless chickens and tacos running the show. Yeah, I mean, it's a mess. I mean, all the stuff going on in the Middle East, and our fights with Russia, and it's just a mess. So I mean, the stuff with the Marines going to Los Angeles. I mean, as a veteran myself, I have no problem with using our military to put out forest fires, or put down morons who are looting and creating damage to a city. That's what they're there for. This whole thing, well, we can't use our military, on our soil. It's like, we're paying them enough, and let's get their butts to work. I mean, I'd much rather have them doing things here domestically, manning the border, or, cleaning up natural disasters or whatever, than, causing havoc and wars across the globe and creating enemies that we don't need, anyways. But, that's just my opinion. All right. Well, that's everything that I had to ramble on about today. I don't know if I said anything smart. You would have to be the judge. So, send me an email or, a note, and let me know if I said anything bright today. But if you do need to get in touch with me and you want to do some financial planning, where do you want to go? DSAFinancialGroup.com. All your financial planning needs can be addressed there. So give me a call. I would be happy to help. Hope everyone out there has a wonderful evening. I'm going to go get some of that great vitamin D outside in the beautiful Colorado sun. Hope everyone has a great night, and I'll talk to everyone next time. Adios.